Hi and welcome everyone. It's Lavender Sky Panther with you on Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. And this is show number 196 called Sky Risings. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening May 2nd through the 17th, 2023. And all of the images this time around will be over the skies of Miami. And I want to welcome you, whether you're new or returning to this channel. Thank you so much for being here. I wish you well. So this time around I have only one cover slide. Usually I do some alternates. But this time we're going to stick with this one. It's very interesting. You'll see the context and some explanations are coming up about it, coming up in the show. Now, this time around, this show is going to be a little atypical in that I really am pretty tired. I'm trying to eke this show out and catch up on a backlog of photos. So I invite you this time to have studied, hopefully, a few of my other previous shows to kind of see and get the gist of what I do here and how I'm doing it. And, I often just also love to share my insights so that all of you out there can sharpen your eyes and attune a little bit better to what you're seeing in the skies if you need it. Some of you are already there, but whatever the case, I just like to point a lot of things out, things that I'm seeing. As always, I ask, what do you see in any of these scenes? Because a lot of them are open for interpretation, until we can get a craft and go up and check some of these things in the skies ourselves or get a different vantage point. But whatever the case, since I am a bit tired this time around, I'm going to leave more of these open to your interpretation and maybe not walk through them in so much detail as I do in previous shows. All right, so that's my little disclaimer for this show, but let's get into it. All right, and before we do, I just have one slide showing, instead of the words, wisdom, and spirit of the day page, this is just simply a question. Maybe this is a message for you. I saw this scene on the pavement on a driveway, asphalt driveway, and it happened I found it in the morning after there had been a storm. So at first I thought, oh, this is just debris, fallen twigs and little, leaves obviously probably just fell from the wind and the storm. But then the more I looked at this, it just looked too perfect and it looked too much like a message. I'm not sure what message I get out of it, but then the more I looked too, I realized this particular plant is nowhere in the vicinity of where it would have fallen from. So it was all very curious. So make of it what you will. This is either going to, click something in you or not. But either way, I'm going to move along now. So just a little question. Perhaps it's a message for you. All right, so we're going to start off with a strange cloud activity. You're going to see that in the lower right-hand corner. If you're returning, you get it, what it's all about. If you're new, I'm just going to mention, when I say cloud in quotes, that's a little, AKA, also known as cloaking craft or suspected cloaking craft. It means there's artificial cloud activity, stuff that isn't natural organic clouds for many reasons. And I invite you to look at my previous shows to see why I say that. Also, I'm just going to make a quick statement, and bear with me if you're returning. But I'm going to show what's called original photo, and then I'm going to show an enhanced photo. And that means I've simply taken the original and just upped or lowered levels of brightness, color, saturation, contrast, and that's really about it. Just to better pull out some things that might be hiding, and cloaking in the sky, and just pull out better details in some of these scenes. You'll see why as well. All right, so here we go. I'm looking, let's see, this is north, and let me see on this one. Yeah, this is kind of a pseudo panorama. So we're looking kind of north and spanning over toward the south direction. Okay, it's a little distorted, but we'll still get the gist of what might be going on in there. And so here's with some enhancement already. Look at the color signatures. We start to see some strange things over here toward 8.1. Look at this motion. There's a lot of kind of crisscrossing motion and activity. And again, that's not natural cloud, doesn't do that. And we have these like weird lines moving all over the place. So we'll look at it with a little more enhancement and zooming in. And it almost looks to me like there's some kind of object being hidden back in here that's cyan. I don't want to say that that's our infamous planetary body that we're starting to see coming onto the horizon. If you're not sure what I'm referring to, definitely go check out my show numbers 186, 188, and 191. And also read the description box below for what I'm referring to about planetary bodies entering the Earth's neighborhood, so to speak. But anyway, look at this. We've got all different kinds of like scratch work, these curved, like raggedy, scratchy lines all over the place. And yet then we have these other little weird things kind of floating in the scene. So no matter what, this is just bizarre, and in no case would natural clouds behave this way. So it's absolutely looking like some yet again new camouflage technique that something's putting out there to really hide and mask what could be going on beyond all of this. All right, so here's with some more enhancement. Now here, it looks to me like we have two craft. This to me looks like we're starting to see an elongated triangular form with maybe little two legs at the back end, even if that's the point, maybe to the bow of the craft, and that would be the back, the stern. And then look at this. We always have to look at motion and trajectory. We don't have to, but I just say that we look at big clues to what could be going on as far as what's cloaking our vapor trails and trajectories of objects, flying out in this case of this mass, whatever it is. We have another one here too. If you follow my cursor, triangular shape that's just kind of hiding in here. It looks like it has a massive vapor trail that is just zooming out of whatever's going on over here. I'm not sure what this is, but it's pretty darn weird, and it's no natural cloud. I'm not sure what this is. It's like an amorphous shape on fire, but yet again, it's got to be some type of cloaking craft that's flying out of here, because again, we've got pure trajectory and a vapor trail, associated with it. Pay good attention to color changes, color signatures. We've got reddish pinks over here, and kind of darker indigo, navy, royal blue colors down here. And here we have a triangle, so I suspect that's a triangular craft, but also more stuff kind of either docked to it as it's flying out, or a different shape is pulling up and docking to it. It's all very strange, but it looks like we have two clear pipes sticking up here. Whatever this is, it's a craft or some kind of object with technological design behind it, because we've got symmetry and all kinds of things going on. So this is a really wild scene. There's stuff that looks like it's even maybe zooming into whatever all of this is. You be the judge on this one. Like I say, the more you look, the more you find in these things. Actually, I even see a curved line now if you follow my cursor. Looks like we have a curve. So where we have this reddish signature, maybe some craters and holes in here, this very well could be our big mystery red object that we're starting to see. Like I said, on the earlier channels, I referred to 188, 186, and I think 191. And you're going to see that planetary body showing up all over the place. The channel, The Final Days, I recommend everyone go over there always to see just the technical work. I'm not sending you over for the religious views, although if they're your cup of tea, great. Otherwise, I'm just sending you over there for the technical analysis. That what she does over there is fantastic on that planetary body that we're talking about. But anyway, let's move along. But none of this kind of matches or makes sense. I really haven't come across this before in the almost 4 years that or 3.5 certainly that I've been documenting the skies in detail. This is just really strange stuff. All right, let's keep going. All right, now we look at the very bottom is the original photo, but I'm going to focus on the one at the very top. This is again kind of it's a panorama, but a little distorted. So we have the north to the right, the south to the west, to the left. So that means we're looking straight on at the west. A little bit of bow distortion more than what would be in the sky, but again, it's just to get the gist of what's going on. So if we look at the enhanced version in the middle, look at this. We have a totally different character of everything going on to the right than is going on over here to the left. And on top of it, if we look back up to the top photo, look at this. We've got weird X forms, weird little cloud, standalone quote-unquote cloud on its own. Look at this huge, massive glare out. And we have a little hint of red. So again, that could be our red planetary body I'm talking about. Look at the massive red, signature popping up behind whatever this massive glare out is, right? So anyway, we're going to keep looking at all of this. Oh, here we're going to just look at, if you look at the top left-hand corner, we're going to just look over at this little section here that we're calling C2. So now we're calling it C3. Here's that little X. It's an original photo. We look to the right. Here's the enhanced version. What the heck is going on in here? That's in no way, shape, or form natural clouds behaving naturally. And in fact, I don't know what's going on here. That's not even the typical chemical field trail, X out. That's something more. It's got texture. It's got holes to it. It's really weird. It's almost like tentacles. So it could be an organic life form for all we know. Very possible. Then we look here. This looks like a piece of metal, big, I want to say slice of metal, like a blade of metal with some holes in it. It's pretty bizarre. We're going to look at that in more detail. And look how, there's always several layers of cloaking. So there's not only just the main foggy, look at this mass, particulate haze out, but then there's, X's and other things to distract people to look everywhere other than where they want you to look, and to find planetary bodies and such coming into the Earth's quote-unquote neighborhood. But then there's also these weird artificial chunks in front, so it's always like many, many layers of things to have your eye move all over the place to not see the bigger picture of what's being hidden in the skies. So in this case, though, we get a really interesting element. So it worked. They're distracting me. I really want to see what this is. So I'm going to zoom in here and look at this. We've got a pure curved edge with some shadow to it. One down here as well. And we're going to see these holes. Look at these holes. They look like when you drill into wood, you make a countersunk hole. That's what it looks like. So there's a little bit of a flare out of a rim before you get down to the hole. And then there's also some happening in here. And I did a sketch overlay coming up so you can see what I'm talking about. But look at the texture of this stuff. It's all really strange, what's going on here. So I do not believe that's created by planes. I believe we're dealing with some other kind of phenomenon going on in the sky there. All right, so here we're just going to zoom in on this part right over here. And here we go. We start to see, I just put ABCD because we've got a bigger hole, another hole, another hole, another hole, and one over here as well. So this is what I'm kind of seeing. It's rough. This has more of a camber, like a bend, slight bend to it than what I'm showing. I'm just showing straight lines just for, what do I want to say, convenience sake for me to try to not get it so precise right now. I didn't have a whole lot of time to put out the show, although each show does take quite a bit of time to put together. So anyway, more or less, that's what we're seeing. So it's definitely some kind of fabrication, rigid, form, right angle, or near right angle, and these precise holes which are spaced apart with, I didn't get that one here at the end, which have a rhyme and reason to the spacing. So there's a logic to this whole thing. And then we have that little like hole there at E. All right, so we're going to move along. I think there's a hole down here too. But like I say, look at these later after the show launches. Take your time at your leisure. Go through it however fast or slow you want the whole show. But like I say, the more you look at each image, the more you're going to find, even way more than me. I'm just kind of presenting the immediate things that catch my attention. But certainly there's a lot more going on in each and every given photo here. All right, so now we're going to go to this scene looking west. And look at all the fog and haze and the glare out. This behind happens to be a lens flare, with the little light source in the center. So that's not our red planetary body. But we got these weird stripes going contrary, to this line. And so when we have straight lines going at different angles from each other in the sky, those are no natural clouds, okay? So let's see what's going on in this one. B.1, we're going to look at B and A. There's more going on, but that's all I want to focus on for right now. I started to pick up the curvature. We see a clear curve here and a curve here, so I thought we might be dealing with some planetary bodies. I even start to see craters over here, and so we're just kind of look at it. But look at how telling. This is a big white glare out, and there's even like a straight line moving through here. It looks like there might be a craft at the end of it, because we have slightly different color signatures happening there. Let's keep going with some of the enhancements. So here again, I kind of am making out a roundish body. Maybe there's one here or over here. This is why I say it's open for interpretation. These darker roundish ones I think are just petal lens flares. So I'm just looking at A2 and B2 though, because they seem to be a little bit more than that. And that's where I'm marking it with. Those could be round planetary bodies. Maybe, maybe not. You see what you see if you agree with that. Okay. Now, here's, at A4 and B4 again, where I think we've got roundish. Maybe those are planetary bodies on those round imprints. And on top of it, we have a triangular imprint over here. So that's where I think we might have some things going on. Okay, that look like that. But again, it's up to interpretation. Actually, on top of it, this might be a round body as well, which would stack up with, we have a bigger, collection of planetary bodies coming into their neighborhood of all different shapes and sizes. So that could be, medium size, a smaller one, Even looks like there might be one back here and one over here. As I've said in previous shows, I take a glance and what pops out at me. But I could come back and look at this very same slide a week from now or a few days from now, or even just the next day, and see totally different things in here. So it's really weird how elusive it works. But see what you see in the scene, and we'll move along. Now, this is looking north-northwest, and this happened to be a huge wide chemtrail. I actually document this on one of my YouTube shorts. And I was on the phone and I was looking down and there was nothing like this in the sky. And literally just after a few minutes, I looked back up while I was talking and this thing was there. So I didn't even get to see what created it. Obviously, it's really low and there was no plane sound. So that's very curious. We got weird motion of stuff, very harsh lines coming in at an opposing angle to this thing. So we know we're not dealing with natural clouds. This is some kind of chemical-filled trail, or camouflage trail as I call them too. I'm saying chemical-filled trails absolutely have toxins in them. Camouflage trails, I'm just coining that because I do believe there are other trails that are just like plasma. They're heavier than and denser than water vapor, and they hang around in the sky forever and cling to stuff really great to veil it and hide it. But maybe it doesn't have toxins in it. That's just a guess. Those are just my theories coming up these days. But I do believe both types exist. In no way, shape, or form are we dealing with condensation trails. That's an insult to anyone's intelligence at this point, and that won't even be spoken here. Obviously, I'm only going to show things that are chemical-filled trails or camouflage trails, and we're not talking about temporary condensation trails which disintegrate in a matter of a couple minutes, whereas these linger in the sky for forever, really, but you see them 30 minutes later, 45 minutes later, and they've just spread across the sky. Okay, anyway, we're going to continue. I've covered all of this plenty of times in previous shows. All right, we're looking to the right. We got a lot of strange activity going on. Not only is this thing the obvious kind of elephant in the center of the room, but we have, look at a different character of all of this. Now again, I look for trajectories, vapor trails, following stuff to see which way things are moving. It looks like we have a craft here that's like zoomed out this way. This one might be heading into the scene. This is doing something really weird at B.1. So we're going to look at it all a little bit closer. Look at this. This looks to me like craft that's coming in and out of a cloaking state. We have definitely rigid, like etched outlines of craft. And something's like moving in here in motion, but I can't quite tell what it is. I invite you to take a look and maybe you see something. And I'm going to move along for now. And okay, so here's with a little more contrast, a little more color saturation. See if we can get at any more details. And I think we're kind of all about the same. But again, depending on what size device you're looking at, I'm narrating this on a laptop screen, which is a certain scale, a little bigger, obviously, than a handheld device. But when you see it on a smaller device, the advantage is with the thumbnail size, you can see more in a different way. So anyway, like I always say, if you have the advantage or good fortune to have a laptop and a handheld device, to look at them at the same time while you play the show and the playback, and just toggle your view from the bigger scale to the smaller scale, and back, and forth, and you're going to see a lot of extra things, jumping out. All right, now I don't know what these things are coming out, but they're really kind of strange, and I do think they're camouflaged objects of some kind. Here we're going to zoom in, and I took out all of the color, as I say on each show pretty much. Sometimes I do take away all color, make it black and white or grayscale, just because it helps the eye to brain connection, see things in a different way. And sometimes it's very telling, other things will jump out at you. So I do believe that this overall thing is a craft. We're dealing with maybe the cockpit or the little command deck here, and that would be, to me, the front of it over here and the back of it over here. It could be flipped the other way around too, but just see what you think. All right, this gets real interesting. That one trail I showed you before that I said just showed up out of nowhere. I was on the phone, looked down a couple minutes or so and looked back up, and then it was all here. So this trail sat below here, and that's on part 1 and 2 of my YouTube shorts. And then this whole line, of course, drifted up right over the quote-unquote sun. I'm calling that an artificial sun. Sometimes I get frustrated and call it a big white glare ball. solar simulator, sun simulator. There are many names for it. Patents pulled in the 1960s, and I'm sure prior, mentioned in other shows. If that concept is new to you, I invite you to look at some of my earlier shows, or look at look at any of the Earth and Sky Watching channels out there that are covering that topic all around the world. People are seeing it and experiencing it and feeling a difference in the heat and the light quality and many other things that are vastly different from our original sun. Now, I kind of get a hint to the naked eye that we have a lot of reddish tone back in here, but that doesn't become evident until we get into more of the enhancements. But we do know, look at the precision of this. Like, how is this stuff just, going right over the quote-unquote sun, which, by the way, felt way too close to the Earth from the surface Earth. And there's a lot of weird stuff happening over here, too. So let's look at it with enhancement. You can see all that red I'm talking about. So that could be our big red planetary body being, concealed by this artificial sun, which can go down to a pinpoint at one moment and moments later get huge and glaring across the sky. So again, that can't be the original sun. It never behaved like that in the last many, many decades. So here's just all that camouflage stuff or that chemical-filled stuff, either or. And then we have these things, which I think are some type of craft that are zooming out, from left to right in this scene. But see what you think. All right, this is, again, looking now west, kind of northwest, a part of that whole camouflage scene. But then we start to see this thing with like a vapor trail behind it and a point. And just to the naked eye, I'm looking at it, I'm going, oh my God, of course, that's a cloaking craft. There's no way a natural cloud has points like that on it anyhow. We look to the right, and sure enough, we see it more and more, and this becomes the cover slide. Then over here, maybe I just have this planetary body on the brain too much because I'm just seeing it everywhere and a lot of different photos and a lot of different channels. And anyway, it's, this to me looks like it could also be a roundish planetary body with little craters in it. But I'm going to leave that one alone. See what you think. I don't know what this break is in here. It looks like something else, some other kind of craft, flew across, and this, or is maybe here with the vapor trail still attached to it. But again, I think we have multi-layerings of things going on in this scene. All right, here's where, if you look to the right, here's where I think I see a planetary body, but I might be mistaken, but I could swear these are like little craters, and that it's being veiled. But see what you see. Here I'm zooming in on that area with some more contrast to really blow this whole thing out. But, we've got this pure rectangular form still holds, or this could be two separate rectangular craft. Here we go. See, this could be separate, or it's one big thing. See what you see. And this could be some kind of cloaking craft with that trail coming in, right above this thing. Or maybe it's something that's docking with this thing, or it's like coming in to destroy this thing. I'm not sure what the story is there. I do believe there's a ton of sky battle going on in our skies day and night. I've captured them both at day and night in previous shows, so that's going on. Now here, we can clearly see this outer, almost like, like an etched outline with weird texture going on in here, and comes to a point. So we're definitely dealing with cloaking craft or some kind of cloaking object. Okay, here's just with even more color saturation enhancement. We even have like a curved, like little leg or prong coming out symmetrical on this thing. Look at that arc. So when we have symmetry and pure geometry, as I always say, we're dealing with engineered, intelligent design for sure. Okay, so now we'll keep going. Keep in mind all the color signatures and how things change or don't. All right, so here we're just backing out at a distance and looking at the overall scene. We've got that object, we've got a trail of some kind, and then we've got all this other camouflaging, veiling, chemical field trail, whatever you want to call it, spreading across the sky. Very low in the sky, too. This thing was very low in the sky, which is also very curious. And look at this. We've got these trails all over the place. What are they hiding? Why is it so much? They're doing it day and night. We know, in part, that it's to hide these planetary bodies, okay? And again, as I say, always no fear when I talk about planetary bodies entering the Earth's neighborhood. They're huge when you look at them, from surface Earth now. They're very close in proximity. And I know that there are earthquakes and fires and things going on over the planet, but I think those are predominantly artificially started. And like in the case of the dense skies over New York right now, yes, I confirmed with friends that I know that live there. It's bad. They're breathing in this, what's supposedly wildfire smoke. It's fires, all right, but I wouldn't call them wildfires. I absolutely believe they're artificially started. And on top of that, some of the scenes are showing the skies over New York so yellow, way too yellow just to be, caused by smoke from fire. So I suspect the clouds are being seeded with sulfur or other things, kind of chemicals to really make it worse. But anyway, that's just my theory. Anyway, you might want to dig around on your own and check out what's going on there. But to finish off, yes, people are experiencing burning eyes and throats and can like taste the grit of the smoke even through if they put a mask on again. God help them. But anyway, the point is, yes, there are fires and smoke going on over there. Also in Pennsylvania, they started a couple weeks ago down in Mexico, up through California, then up into Canada. So yeah, there's a lot going on. But what I want to say is it's not being caused by this planetary body coming closer, at least in my opinion, because these have been here for quite a while and have sat there very large, and when we weren't having all of these things going on. So I think something else is triggering all of that. Anyway, a whole nother topic that could be an entire show dedicated to that. Maybe it will be in the future on this channel. We'll see. All right, so let's keep looking. Okay, now this is looking west. We can just see all this very thick particulate everywhere, hiding something in the sky because there's no reason for it to be that way. This should be just a natural blue sky of decades past, and yet it's not. So look at all this craziness. This looks like one huge triangle. Let's see what's going on. This is what we get. A lot of different things happening in here. I even see a pure geometry. If you follow my cursor right now, straight line, straight angle, angle, line, symmetrical with something across here. So that's engineered design of whatever this thing is. I think there's something hiding in here as well, cloaking. We'll look with a little more enhancement. And there's that object I think is cloaking right in there. Look at that. So this could be one big object with something in the middle of it, or several different objects hiding in one overall, assembly here, because this looks like something totally different and dark up here at the top. And we have these weird striations hiding it. So see what you see in this scene. Okay, and do keep in mind again the color signatures, any vapor trails, stuff of that nature. Now, look at this thing. It looks very elegant, very beautiful, but what the heck is it? It's not a natural cloud. So look at this. It's pretty amazing. We get some stuff that wants to be pure geometry and symmetry right here. This looks pretty symmetrical. So we're dealing with something with intelligence yet again. So I think this is one large triangular form. I think some of these things are more supernatural phenomenon, like wisps, not wisps, sylphs. But I think mixed in are some very advanced ways of cloaking with different, rigid geometry craft going on. It's like a mixture of things. When we start to look here with more enhancement, you're going to see a pure triangular form with like a curved bottom to it and holes. That's absolutely some type of cloaking craft. Here you see it, the etched line and the hole there. Here we go again. For anyone in the United States, or I guess elsewhere too, maybe in Europe, Vicks, I don't want to promote any product, but their cough drop, it kind of reminds me of that shape of a cough drop that they used to sell. But anyway, we've got an outline here, and I start to see other stuff too, so we'll get to it. If you look right here, though, maybe it's more evident here. I see like a little devil dude sitting on a throne with a little like trident staff next to him at a little control panel. So maybe you see it here, like that's the head. I'd trace it in the next shot. And, if you've watched any of my shows too, or this channel, I do also do spiritual card readings in between doing some of the sky shows just to kind of break stuff up. Plus, I was led to do it. And I call those out by letter and a little sparkle emoji, whereas the sky shows are by number. So if you're interested in looking at any of those, go ahead and see those. Otherwise, I'm just mentioning it because this reminds me of the devil card in tarot. But anyway, here we go. So that's kind of what I see. This like little weird little dude sitting on a throne, or like at a command a panel, of a craft with his little like trident pitchfork there on the side. If you see it, here's that trident, you know, and there's that little dude sitting there with his legs splayed. Here you can see it here too with the little trident thing. Anyway, see what you see. Okay, then where that little dude is sitting, I also see that could just be a triangular form with a couple of holes, and right next to it perhaps a spherical or circular form with 2 holes in it as well. I see a lot of little concentric or, you know, yeah, I guess concentric rippling kind of effect, waves moving through. So there's definitely a power source up here somewhere generating these waves. I'll call them electromagnetic waves for now. Here's just one more view of that triangular shape, and see what you can see in here. And here's at the bottom, and just look at the energy just like exploding, like erupting from the horizon line, just so low out of nowhere. It just bam, flashes up right on a sharp angle. So that's not natural cloud. It could be sylphs, it could be something else. See what you think that is. This looks like could be a little craft that worked its way up, you know, over here. And we got weird cross lines coming across too at different trajectories. Here's what also could be here. You know, I'm looking, if you look at the outline, this looks like a pure oval, you know. So I do think we've got a triangular craft there, and that this is the vapor trail leading up to it. See what you think. Okay, this is really weird looking south. We got an X form, you know, that would not form with natural cloud. Nor, if you really think about it, I'm asking people to think, I know. It's a lot to ask people these days of people, right? I know you get my little joke. If you're on this channel, you're a free thinker. Thank God for you. But anyway, we've got this coming down here, this coming across, and that just would not happen in a natural cloud system. That's a no-brainer. And but think about it. This is not even if somebody said, oh, it's a plane doing condensation trails. No, it's not. No plane would dive down and like crash, you know, into the ground, nor would it spring up out of nowhere where there's no airport or base, you know, from the grounds. This is just a neighborhood. So this is just happening spontaneously right overhead local in this area. And it's not created, probably not created by a plane. We're talking orbs or other camouflaging craft of advanced means, advanced technology. Is it ET? Yes, it absolutely could be extraterrestrials, or it could be military, or it could be military in combination with ETs. So anything is possible. Could also be, yet again, something we don't even know about. But anyway, either way, don't you find it funny that right at the intersection, there's something very curious going on? So we're going to zoom in and take a look at that. On the left, here's that intersection. Start to see a kite-like shape with this, you know, like tail behind it. And here we're going to zoom in again just at this area, and here we go. We've got rigid geometry in a kite shape, and other weird stuff happening in front. Now, this could be an elongated triangle with something next to it. When I first did these little markups, I was just doing with my finger on a handheld, on a phone, you know, camera phone, at that scale. So the green, that's probably not what's going on, but when we go back, there is a little bit of a curve here. But I really just, for now, I just want to focus on that red shape. You know, it's a shape of it. And this, I think the more I look at it, it's not what I did with the green. I think this is a pure, you know, triangular form going on. So anyway, see what you see, and we're going to move along. Okay, this one's real simple to narrate because this was standalone in the sky. It's really, really low in altitude. And there you go. Speaks for itself with enhancement. Then we've got some type, look how straight that line is. It's kind of like a triangular shape. It's splayed on angle. There's like a pipe here, you know, with a pipe end to it. Maybe that's the stuff that shoots out the camouflage, you know, for this craft, or it does something else, maybe some other instrumentation. But either way, we see this is, you know, absolutely a cloaking craft. Don't really believe me, think it's just some kind of fluke anomaly in the sky. Well, here we go with more enhancement with the color signatures. We see that there's some kind of power source generating something in here. You know, it's slightly different at the core of this thing. Here we see the pure hole and pipe, even better. So I'm going to leave it at that. And maybe the green is like a toroidal field, energy field, you know, as this thing zooms along. All right. Now, this is looking southwest, and this one is in the wee hours of the morning, so this is after midnight, like 12:30 at night. And I just happened to see, you know, this is supposedly the moon, although now the more I see it, the more I'm believing, yes, that there's also a moon simulator, not just a sun simulator, but that's a whole other topic. I remember decades back seeing an article before the heavy censorship and scrubbing of all, intelligent, normal, factual information off the internet. I remember an article, actually it was in paper and print, and it was talking about how China way back then was considering launching an artificial moon, and I thought, well, that's just crazy, and why would they do that? And it turns out, one was launched. I don't know who launched it, but the more you study what's going on with the moon, I think we can all agree something ain't right compared to the natural moon that we all knew from, or quote-unquote natural moon behavior from decades past. Now, whether the actual quote-unquote moon is an artificial construct or a natural body, that's up for debate. I personally believe it is an artificial construct. Always have, even when I was like 7 years old, looking up saying, how the heck can that thing be all beat up and so close to Earth, and Earth isn't beat up and looks nothing like that? It's like impossible. So I do believe it was kind of like brought in, carted in here, so to speak. But again, that's a whole other topic for another time. But the point here is I'm looking up after, midnight, and just a weird, shadow being backlit over here tells me that's got to be some type of cloaking craft or technology being heavily veiled. Again, it's no accident. All of that's up there. So with enhancement, look at these weird waves. All of it's just really bizarre and really low in the sky. And I start to see a pure triangular form down here. So right away I know we're dealing with intelligent design that has rigid geometry to it. That means it's not organic cloud. So here's with more enhancement. Look at the color signatures. We've got these indigo, blue, violet, got a little bit of teal cyan, and we've got all kinds of different colors all over the place. So here's what I see. Again, I was just sketching this with my finger on a camera phone. Clear holes here, though. Look at these two holes connected with an incised line. So this could be a teardrop shape. It could be something else. Look at all these little holes. They're too perfect to be, there's nothing that would create that in the sky. And we've got these things kind of spaced that look like they have intelligence to them in their designing. They've got, we've got a pure triangular form, and these things are, spaced with rhythmically so. Anyway, this could be one way to interpret this. Again, there are going to be many ways that you could sketch overlay this. That's just the one that came to mind at the time for me. All right, now this gets real interesting too, because here we just have like this line, this curve, and this doing its own thing. And look how insanely low in the sky it is relative to, that's just the top of like a standard palm tree. And the way this was shaping, it was looking like a plane to me, some kind of craft with like some things off to the sides as balancers. Anyway, the more we enhance, we see something's going on here that looks like more than cloud activity. We've got a pure hole here. Like the end of a pipe with a split at the bottom. Again, look at this. That's no natural cloud down here. So there's something going on here too. It looks like a circle here, maybe two circles. So I'm going to say that's cloaking craft, and so is this. Now, this is either one cloaking craft or a cluster of different cloaking crafts. So we're going to keep looking at it. Again, we've got weird stuff happening all over this thing, different color signatures. And so I'm just thinking this could be clusters of craft, all different craft. This is symmetrical, whatever that thing is back there with two little points and two wings, perfectly symmetrical. So I'm thinking, we may have, individual crafts, kind of craft traveling together, maybe docked together, like different floats in a pool and rafts in a pool that kind of gravitate toward each other and then kind of move along all together. That's what it reminds me of. Sorry, I keep going the wrong way. So, again, we've got a circle with like a fender effect. Let me see if I go the right way. Yeah, here we go. And here it looks like a dark triangle, craft with like maybe two holes in the back with where exhaust comes out even. Looks like we got two trails behind it. So it looks like this thing is either docked there and maybe firing up the engines getting ready to leave, or it had just come in and parked. See what you think, but absolutely, that looks like a dead ringer for a triangular craft. And I know I've mentioned it on other shows, but do go see Industrial Surrealism, a great YouTube channel. that shows these things in animation form, like 3D animation, really incredible, of what could be going on there and how these little exhaust things come out of this thing. All right, let's keep going. All right, now this is interesting, and this is my beautiful example for people. I've seen comments on other channels saying, well, if there's stuff in the sky, how come I can't see it? We would see it. Well, I always say, oh yeah, you're really confident in that, would you? So right now, here we have a perfect illustration. This should be a blue sky, a really rich blue sky, and instead it's this white haze out with an X across it, okay? And right away I've come to learn that where there's an X, look above it and look all around anywhere but at the X, because that's where things are hiding. So to me, the X is kind of like a red herring, like, oh, hey, a distraction, like, hey, look over here. Look at this X, focus on it, people, because that's what our brain wants to do. Our eye and brain connection wants to do that. Meanwhile, all the activity, like a huge planet or something, can be hidden right here, but we're so focused on the X, right? So anyway, with a little bit of enhancement, we start to see a whole new world. So people saying, oh, there's nothing, and what, I don't see anything. Well, we're going to start to. Okay, so look at, we got multiple X's. We got this mess that's been artificially created in the sky, this thick haze and, weird, veiling, intentional, deliberate veiling done. With some more enhancement, look at, we start to see more and more stuff. Now, I start to see craters here, so I'm thinking this could be our big planetary body being extremely well hidden and veiled back in here. I'm not sure, though. So I'm going to show you a couple of possibilities. Like I said, this show is going to be one of multiple interpretations that are possible on any given scene. I'm just showing you what I see, and I'm asking you, what do you see in any given scene? So here, this very well could be a possibility, because I start to see a roundish, line, and that these could be craters, even like one here and in other places. Or this thing could even be even bigger, because I could almost see craters here. Very hard to say, though, because obviously, look at all of this veiling going on. But that's just one guess for now, okay? Now, another option is this. And again, I did this one on the phone because it was a smaller scale. I could see things better. So it could be that what I thought maybe are craters are just like certain exhaust ports or camouflage ejectors, to pump this crap out, which is very possible. Oops, sorry. It could be a big triangular craft with these holes pumping out the stuff. And then the green, if you watch with me, I'm going to go back, I see these triangular forms everywhere. They're about the same size. They have the curved back. Let's see, the curved back here, okay, with the kind of the hole in the middle kind of thing. And we have, kind of trail, coming behind them all. So I definitely see these little triangular form craft, interspersed, and something else is going on up over here, so there's just a lot going on in the scene. I think small scale things plus really huge things are going on in the background. See what you see. Okay, this is kind of just a standalone weird thing, coming up and doing its own thing on an angle while we have something more straight. So there's no way that if this were a typical cloud system, and note how insanely low in the sky this is in altitude, even if we had the puffy cumulus clouds of yore moving along, you can't have stuff moving along with the wind this way and then something just springing up in a totally different trajectory and call it a natural cloud, okay? So here we go with enhancement. We see something. I think this is the outline of a cloaking craft with a trail coming behind it. I have no idea what this is. I'm going to call that the sylph phenomenon. Looks like something's happening here at the end of it, so with some enhancement. I can't get to what that is, but I think there's an object sitting right there at the end. Then in this scene looking north, I was, what caught my attention was this movement coming down when we look to the right. It's kind of banking over here, which again a natural cloud cannot do, creating this near right angle. It's kind of an acute angle, but sharp angle nonetheless. So at first, I see a triangular, if you look at my cursor, that's a triangular craft right there. And at first I thought, oh, these are objects and this stuff. But no, I think this is just the plasma clinging to the edge of a bigger cloaking triangle beyond, and that this little triangle here is, springing off of the bigger triangle, and that these are like circular holes, so those might be generating the plasma. And so I think the real key is looking at the void and not the quote-unquote mass or outline plasma stuff. And then again, look at how do we have this shape going on, and then this line's coming across, on a slight angle, but more or less straight. I think that's a cloaking craft in there too, like a wedge shape craft. All right, this scene gets really interesting, looking west, and let me see, are we looking west? I believe so. Yes, we're looking west. And the texture and everything about this looks really, really strange. The more I look at it, this could be one really long ship-like craft, and that's kind of like the command tower here, like the bridge. But I'm going to be focusing on just this part in a minute. This already looks like a craft, just looking at it backlit. So we're going to look at it with some, oh, and what the heck is this thing doing down here? It's really weird and not a cloud. Anyway, with enhancement, this gets real interesting. Because here, this looks like it could be, we're looking at the bottom of a craft on angle, like zooming up, and that's a hole in the front. This could be a sphere, so that could be a planetary body, or just a cloaking craft that takes on the shape of a sphere. Hard to say, but we'll look at it with more enhancement. That's what I think could be a circle, so that could be a planetary body or an object, a cloaking craft of some kind. See what you think. And again, this looks like the front of a craft, or it could be the back, but I think it's the front. It's like a pipe with wings. So anyway, see what you see. All right, and now we're going to zoom in on this weird looking thing here in front of the quote-unquote sun, and look at the texture on this thing. It's just really bizarre. I don't know any clouds that do that. And then look at this, looks like a perfect circle, like that's the solar simulator with something else going on in this bright spot. So with more enhancement, look at the color. This turns blue while that stays white, and we get that pop of blue beyond too. And this looks like a craft here at the top, two little craft. Looks like that's a craft zooming off that way. This is what could be happening with that blue thing. Although I don't think that's our planetary body. I think that's just an artificial sphere of some kind. Really strange looking. Could be a craft. And again, these things start to look like independent crafts sitting up there. All right, here's another scene looking west, and look how weird. That's such a solar simulator, fake sun, artificial sun, if you will. We get weird movement, weird little things happening all over the place. So with enhancement, we look to the right. Looks like these are craft. That looks like if in the Western world and the United States, looks like a concrete truck, the drum that mixes the concrete a little bit. But anyway, it looks like there's a hole at the end. Weird stuff going on. This whole scene is really, really strange, especially this stuff going on in here and down here. With enhancement, though, we're going to zoom into this whole area on the top. And here's that thing that I was like as a cement mixer drum on a truck, for a concrete truck. But look at this cyan piece. I'm going to say that's what's going on. It's symmetrical. We got wings, and I think this is the back, and that's the front. But that's what I'm getting. It's totally symmetrical. Sharp lines, sharp enough to draw them. And then over here we see an imprint of a perfect triangular form. And this looks like the nose or the headpiece, the cap of it, with something symmetrical happening here. So that's what I see going on there. These look like little craft. That's a line that looks like a symmetrical craft. That looks like that's its vapor trail flying down toward us in this scene. Also, look at the color signatures for what could be objects and energy sources, okay? All right, now we're looking northeast in the morning, 6:20 in the morning. And it just struck me weird that we have a towering cloud billowing up out of seeming nowhere, like 0-point horizon, and then doglegging over, right angle over, and then going up again. So again, natural clouds do not do that, especially with another one coming across more or less level. We look at the right-hand side with enhancement. We see there's a darker object with lighter plasma, like hugging this thing to try to camouflage it. And here we are with more extreme color saturation, blowout, and brightness a little bit, blowing it out to see what is object and what is like plasma cloaking material. So in this case, blue is object, pink is the cloaking material hugging this stuff. Really, really weird configuration. Now we're looking west in the evening, and look how beautiful this movement is of this cloud stuff. Excuse me, hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. When I step away, it's to clear my voice. But here we have a perfect object here at 8.1. So the bottom, sorry, is the original. The top is with enhancement. Look at that difference. So once again, if people say, well, I would just see stuff in the sky, you know, look at the bottom and you go, okay, yeah, they're right. Why don't you see stuff? Well, a little bit of enhancement, we cut through the crap. We cut through all of this veiling and the smoke and mirrors that have been artificially, deliberately laid in there by malevolent others. So, you know, here we go. We start to see, you know, pure line. I'm thinking if this is the craft, the bow or the front is here. That would be like the windshield. And then that's the back, okay? So here we are zooming in on just that object, that kind of curved line that I'm saying would be the front or the nose of a big overall craft. That would be the bow or the back, like a trail behind it. And by taking out the color, we can sometimes see the forms better. All right, now we're looking west in the afternoon. In this whole system, oh, hold on one more second. Okay, I'm back. This entire system just was way too low, looked really bizarre, and, you know, just a bunch of things were moving in at different directions. I was driving, but I was paying attention to this. Anyway, with enhancement, you can see what I mean. The whole scene is strange. And I'm sorry, we're not looking west, we're looking east. That should say east. That's important because we shouldn't have this glare out of white, nor here, you know, all this brightness when we're looking east and not west at this hour. So that alone is strange. And then look at this thing. What really caught my attention is what the heck's going on over here, okay? And there's a perfect circle here. So there's an object sitting right there at that pinch point. Or it's the corner of like a triangular craft, and that's one of the you know, like the exhaust or the camouflage pumping ports. But anyway, keep your eye on 8.1. It gets really weird. Look at this. So this is where that circular element was. So I think there's a craft sitting right there. But what the heck is this? Look at this. It's like some kind of plant pod, you know. It's just on a stalk. It's just really strange. Okay, well, that's it. This is the photo of the day and the close of the show. I want to say thanks for connecting here a while with me and looking at all these things, these really wild anomalies in the sky these days. And this is just a reminder. I know I mentioned it early in the show earlier, but I do these spiritual card readings, and again, I label them with letters instead of numbers, and they all have a little sparkle symbol. If that interests you, if not, no problem. Just stick with the sky stuff. Either way, thanks for being here, and as always, I wish all of you tremendous peace and love. Lavender Sky Panther, bye.